Alright, hey, what's going on YouTube? This is Keith with Less Magic, More Gathering, and today we are doing Volume 30 of Random Card Deck Tech. Twitter chose Gigantosaurus for the last volume of Random Card Deck Tech. So we're going to put something together here, but first we got to do a little bit of administrative work. First of all, please follow us on Twitter, as it says right down there, at LMMG2018. We would definitely appreciate it, and we'll probably follow you back. Next, we're going to look at a few channels that I think you should check out. They got good content. They probably deserve a follow. If you're following me, you'll like them. First one here is King of Jank. King of Jank has all kinds of different content. Everything from product openings to deck techs to anything involving the world of Jank magic. If you don't know what Jank is, look it up or go watch his videos. You'll figure it out. Next, we've got MTG-Bikerboy, another kind of all-around participator in the world of content creation for Magic the Gathering. Does all kinds of stuff. He's a good guy. Check him out. Give him a subscription. And finally, we've got Path to TCGs. Path does a lot of product opening. So if you're into that, if you like watching people open product, new, old, everything in between, check them out. Give them a subscription. So now we're going to get into this deck. Like I said, we are working with the Gigantosaurus, which you'll see here is going to be a good fit right in this pretty standard Mono Green Stompy deck. We've made a few changes just because that's kind of what we do. We don't want to run in that deck, so this is our version. Brian built this one, and I can promise you that dude does not look up anything on the internet. So this is all straight out of his head. First off, obviously, we've got Gigantosaurus, 3 copies of the 5-drop 10/10 vanilla creature from M19. Followed up by the kind of a staple in any mono green deck, 4 copies of Llanowar Elves, 1/1, 1-drop that adds green mana to your mana pool. We've also got 3 copies of Steel Leaf Champion. This is another, pretty much just a staple in all your mono green Stompy decks. Get this out on turn 2. That can win you the game just by itself, depending on what your opponent's playing. Next, we've got 3 copies of Ripjaw Raptor. Ripjaw Raptor's a 4-drop, 4/5, pretty good body in and of itself for 4 mana, and then it's going to draw you a card every time it's dealt damage. So hopefully you can get at least a card or 2 drawn off of Ripjaw Raptor. Next, we've got 3 copies of Goreclaw, Terror of Calcisma. This is kind of where we veer off the normal path, Goreclaw is going to make all your spells cost 2 less, so your things like your Ripjaw Raptor, it's a 2-drop now. 2-drop 4/5 that draws you a card every time it's dealt damage. That's incredible. Also, Carnage Tyrant's our next spell. We're not to that yet. Carnage Tyrant's now a 4-drop if you've got him out there, so it's a really good spell. It's the same cost as the Stupid Knight that makes your dinosaur spells cost 2 less, but this one makes all your spells that have a power of 4 or greater cost 2 less, which is all of our creatures except for Llanowar Elves. So all of our spells are going to cost 2 colorless mana less, and then anytime Goreclaw attacks, each creature you control with power 4 or greater gets +1/+1 and trample until end of turn. So he's going to pump up all of our creatures, make them bigger, and give them trample, which with things like the Gigantosaurus, that's a good benefit. So Goreclaw fits really well in this deck. Next, like I already showed you, we've got 3 copies of Carnage Tyrant. Normally a 6-drop. If Goreclaw's out there, it's only a 4-drop. 7/6, can't be countered, trample, hexproof. Duh. Of course it's in there. This one's kind of a weird creature. This is typically going to be the most expensive card in your deck. I say typically because you'll see in a second. But it's a 7-drop, 7/7. It's got trample, and it can block 2 creatures during combat. So gives you a little bit more flexibility during combat. If you don't want to lose one of your other creatures, but you absolutely have to block something that your opponent's got, and it would kill your other creature, you can block 2 creatures with the Gaspark Twins. So works out well. And you can cast this thing if you've got Goreclaw out, or if you've got our artifact out later, you can cast it for as little as 4. So, but usually 5, sometimes 4. Cheap 7/7 with trample that can block an additional creature. Yes, please. Next, we got 3 copies of Ghalta Primal Hunger. That's why I said that Gaspark Twins is normally going to be the most expensive card in the deck to cast, because Ghalta's casting cost is reduced by the power of all the creatures that you control. So it's going to be reduced by your other creatures. It's also going to be reduced by the 2 that Goreclaw provides. It's also going to be reduced by our artifact we're going to be getting out later. So, typically you're not going to cast this for 12. You're never going to cast this for 12. If you do, you're doing something wrong. But, I mean, it's another staple for your Mono Green Stompy deck, so we had to include it. Now we're going to get into our instance. This is probably pretty typical too. We're going to run 4 copies of Blossoming Defense. Now, after rotation happens, green is going to lose a lot of their protection type stuff. They're going to lose Blossoming Defense. They're going to lose Hapatra's Mark. They're going to lose Heroic Intervention. So, I don't know if Wizards has intentionally, thrown in a bunch of these big monster creatures, knowing that some of the protection spells are going to be falling out of standard, and maybe they'll be easier to deal with once those are gone, or if this is just, or maybe we're going to get some new protection spells for green in Guilds of Ravnica. I don't know what the situation is, but I'm sure they thought it out and had a plan there, because they have added in the last couple sets some really good, massive green creatures that, with things like Blossoming Defense and Hapatra's Mark, can get hexproof. So, while we've got them available, we're going to use them. 4 copies of Blossoming Defense. Next, we're going to look at our sorcery spells. Just 1 sorcery spell here, too. We got 4 copies of Commune with Dinosaurs. It's a 1-drop. If we don't have our Llanowar Elves available, we use Commune with Dinosaurs to look at the top 5 cards. We get to pick a dinosaur or a land, put it into our hand. Too easy. Next, we're going to look at our enchantments. Again, just 1 enchantment in the deck. We've got 3 copies of Blanchwood Armor. This can pump up your Goreclaw so that it doesn't die to a lightning strike anymore. Or if you've got a couple creatures out there and one of them's huge, you can make it bigger, or you can put it on another creature so you've got a couple huge creatures. Huge, huge, huge. That's what Blanchwood Armor is going to do. It's going to make something huge. It's just depending on how you want to use it. So you can put Blanchwood Armor on something, and then you've got your Goreclaw, and once we get to our artifact here in a minute, you'll have Trample available, so you can really just mow down your opponents. Like I said, we're going to get to the artifacts. We're going to look at 2 copies of Ronus's Monument. That's going to make our green creature spells cost less, and anytime we cast a creature spell, one of our creatures gets +2/+2 and Trample. So with things like your Gigantosaurus, you want to make sure that you get that thing Trample. It's already a 10/10. You use this ability and give it a +2, make it a 12 with Trample, and then you can, if you swing with Goreclaw at the same time, you can give it another +1 and more Trample. So lots of ways to cast our spells cheaper and pump things up as we go. So now we're going to look at the land base, which includes a total of 23 forests. That's it. Normally in a deck like this you would want more lands because you've got a lot of expensive creatures, but with the cost reductions and the mana ramp, 23 seemed like it was working really well in testing. So I'm going to recommend 23, and then if you're not having as much success as I did when I was testing, please feel free to make your changes. So that's the deck. Gigantosaurus, 5-drop 10/10 vanilla creature, but with some added help can really help you finish off a game pretty quick. So let us know down in the comment section what you think of the deck, what you might change, what you'd do differently if you play it. Let us know how it works for you. We'd love to hear success stories. If you don't have luck with it, keep it to yourself. That's it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Deuces! Hey, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, go down below and find that subscribe button. Press it and the notification bell so that you'll know when we post new videos. If you've got some feedback, follow that arrow to the comment section and let us know what you think. See you next time.